evening. It is morning time here in Ithaca, New York, but I know it's evening where most of you are tuning in from, so good evening. My name is Bridget O'Connor. I am a senior admission counselor here at Ithaca College. We are a mid-sized institution located in upstate New York. We specialize in liberal arts and sciences. I will give you some more information about Ithaca College as we go through my presentation. However, I'm mostly focused today on what is a good fit college and how do you narrow down your list. I'm sure at this point you know there are hundreds and hundreds of colleges and universities in the US, so it can seem overwhelming to figure out which one is the best for you. I do have some advice. And what I did was I looked up the definition of a good fit college. What I found was that a good fit is when a college meets a student's needs and wants academically, socially, and financially. For a lot of students, I find that the questions that they ask, especially as seniors in high school, like I know lots of y'all are, is what can I do to get into your college? What test scores do I need? What grades should I have? These are great questions. However, I encourage students to think about it as their college process. We need to know which college is right for you, not just for the college, but what do you want out of a college? So that's what we will focus on today. What do you want to get out of your college experience? As an admission counselor, I specifically work with our international students, and lots of times I will get emails from international students with a list of 15 to 20 questions that I can tell are copied and pasted and sent to many different colleges in the US. This is great. However, most of the information that students ask in these long emails can be easily found on our website. So one, it tells me this student is not really interested in Ithaca College. They only are asking questions to get information. And two, they haven't narrowed down their list of best fit colleges for them. They're simply blasting emails to maybe tens of schools, maybe 20 schools, and then looking at all the information. I think the best way to do it is for you to think about what you want, make a short list, and then ask more specific questions. So in order to do that, I came up with 3 C's that hopefully you can remember. We have culture, cost, and curriculum. I'll go a little deeper into each one. So for culture, what I'm talking about is what size school would you like to study at? How many students are at the school? How big is the campus? Ithaca College, we have 5,000 undergraduate students, and our campus is about 15 minutes to walk from one side to the other. That might be a good size for you. Maybe you want a school that has 45,000 students where you're part of a big campus community. Maybe you don't mind having to take a shuttle bus to get from your residence hall to your dining hall or your academic classes. Size does matter. So I encourage you to think about how many students would you like to be at your school? Also, is it an urban campus or a rural campus? Ithaca College is very rural. We have lots of trees that surround campus. We are on a lake. There are lots of waterfalls in this area. So Ithaca College is a good school for students who like to be surrounded by nature. But there are many schools in cities. New York City has over 100 schools just in New York that are surrounded by big buildings. There's lots more to do there. They have public transportation. There are shows and activities and wonderful internship opportunities. So you have to think, do I want to be in a city or do I want to be outside of a city? Also, is this campus residential or commuter? Do most students live on campus? Ithaca College, we are a residential community. Over 90% of our students live on campus. So that means there are lots of things to do outside of the classroom. For other schools, maybe schools in the city, students do not live on campus. They live in apartments or houses off of campus. They come to school to study in their classes, and then they go home and they live their life outside of the school. These are all new things to think about. I have some questions for you to ask admission counselors once you have narrowed down your list. So this would be a good time to take notes. For culture, you can ask, how many students live on campus versus off of campus? That will give you a good idea of it, whether it's a residential school or a commuter school. You can ask, what happens outside of class? Of course, for college, your classes are very important and we are here to study first. However, college is a great time to try a new club, to try a new sport, to meet people that have different interests than you. And the organizations, the clubs, the shows, the experiences that you can have outside of the classroom are just as important as those inside the classroom. Another important question to ask is, what is the retention rate? The retention rate is the number of students from freshman year or first year that decide to stay at the school until their second year, and then third year and fourth year. Do they like the school enough to come back? Or does the school have a low retention rate and first years don't like the school, so they transfer somewhere else? These are good, important questions about culture. Now, the second C, cost. I'm sure you all know at this point, higher education in the United States is expensive. However, there are lots of things to take into account. Tuition is something that you need to think about. Room and board, so how much it costs to either live on campus or live off of campus. Unfortunately, if your home is in India and you're studying in the US, you can't stay at home. You can't live with your parents or your families to attend school. So these are costs that you'll need to factor in. And then there are additional costs like travel. How often will you travel home? The cost of living. If you are going to school in a big city, it might be more expensive to get food outside of school, to experience the culture of the community that you're in. Activities outside of school may be more expensive. And then there's things like essentials. You'll need to pay for bedding. You'll need to pay for school supplies. You'll need to pay to have fun sometimes, because we'll all need some fun in college. So good questions to ask about cost. What scholarships or financial aid are available for international students? Of course, you all watching this are part of the Next Genius Scholarship Program. So if you become a full tuition scholar, like NASA, then that's great. Maybe these aren't questions you have to think about. But if for some reason you don't become a full tuition scholar, these are some important questions. In addition, how are merit scholarships determined? Some schools in the US will use grades and test scores. So this may be SAT, ACT, maybe an English language proficiency exam. Some schools will use those test scores to determine merit-based scholarship. Some schools, like Ithaca College, we are what you consider test optional. So we do not use test scores to determine merit scholarships. We use students' transcripts, so their grades in high school. We use their personal essay and their letters of recommendation. So this is an important question, especially if you are trying to decide how many times to take the SAT or the ACT or any other exams. In addition, another question, what on-campus jobs are available for international students? Lots of times, students in the US will get jobs on campus to have money to spend, to have money to put towards tuition, but in some cases, depending on visa requirements, sometimes jobs are not accessible to international students. Other times, international students are limited on the number of hours they can work. So this is an important question so you can get an idea of how much money you can make while going to school. All right, the third C is curriculum. This is all about your classes. What are you studying? I'm sure it's interesting that I put this as the third C, but as colleges, you know there's always going to be a curriculum, right? So important things to think about, of course, does this school offer the major that you're interested in? But in addition, it is very common for students in the US to change their major. So a good question to ask is, how easy is it to change my major? And how many students do change their major? Does this school support students changing their major? Is it difficult? Will I have to add an extra year onto my studies if I want to change my major? These are all important questions. How many students participate in research opportunities or internships? We all want to get real experience working in the field while we are working at undergraduate schools. And another important question is, how does the school support students in finding these opportunities? Well, I just gave you a whole lot of questions, but now we can talk really quickly about how to take your big long list of schools and make it small so that you know which schools to ask all these questions. My biggest piece of advice is to look at the best of lists. If you Google or if you type into the internet, best of Princeton Review, they recently came out with new lists. So you can search once you've decided, I want, let's say, a mid-size liberal arts school. You can search best mid-size liberal arts schools. And the Princeton Review will give you a list of the best. My advice then is to look at their websites. You can ask some of these questions right on the website and they will tell you how many students participate in internships, how many clubs and organizations are on campus, how is the campus culture like? Do people live on campus? Do people not live on campus? And once you have done your research, reach out. See if the school is offering virtual visit opportunities. One of the great things to come out of the pandemic is we all now know how to use Zoom. We have lots of virtual opportunities, so you can ask your questions directly to an admission counselor, or even better, to a current student. Current students are going to give you the best information. I, of course, think my job is important, but I know too that students who are studying at Ithaca College are the best people to talk to because they have the current experience and they can give you the best answers. So the 3 C's you need to decide to shorten down your list are culture, cost, curriculum. Once you've made a small list, ask the important questions and that will help you find your best fit college.